Hey guys, it's Brett. Thanks for dropping by my channel. So today I wanted to talk or review or talk in my review about two old books. Now I did a little bit of a mislead here on the title and it probably drove a lot of young people off. But they're not actually old books I'm reviewing. Well, one is a little bit old, but they're books that have old people in them uh, as a kind of central point. Not a central point in one, much more in the second. So that's what it is. The two books that I'm talking about today are Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club and Ian Reid's We Spread. So I read these back to back, and it was interesting because suddenly I was like, I don't know what I'm screaming out to the universe that I am interested in all these books that deal with septuagenarians and even octogenarians. Another one that, in the same vein, that I had originally put on my TBR for this month, and I'm not going to get to, which was Killers of a Certain Age. Also about, with the central characters, all septuagenarians. So I'll have to come back to in that one. But anyway, first of all, I found it really interesting with both of these books that you're taking central characters where there's effectively very few, well, in Ian Reid, certainly there's no young characters except, well, there's one, but I'm distracting myself and I should focus on one before the other, which is, so to start with The Thursday Murder Club, for those who haven't read it, and we know it's become a big publishing sensation, the third book has just come out. It was one of these books that I was talking about earlier that I'd wanted to read this month, primarily because I have all the books and I felt like you either have to start this series and decide you like them or not, or move on. Well, I loved it. And I happened to listen to it on audio. And sometimes I've talked so much about audiobooks, and some people are like, I'm not going to do it. I get it. But for those who do like audiobooks, I cannot recommend it enough. It's read by British actress Leslie Manville, and she is just phenomenal. But the story, for those of you who don't know, is about four people who live in a very kind of posh retirement community outside of London, who every Thursday get together and discuss cold cases that one of their members, when she was a detective, had a pile of that were never solved. So they just try to solve them and think, are there clues that were possibly missed? In the meantime, an actual murder does take place. And so they actually do set out to solve the murder alongside a rather junior detective and her supervisor, who gets pulled into it as well. These characters, first of all, they're so fantastic. There's two women and two men. They're all so incredibly well drawn. And again, I have to just say, like, I think I would have liked this had I read the book. The audio, there's certain books just on audio that kind of elevate it and take it to the next level. It makes complete sense to me why Steven Spielberg is making this his next movie. But these four incredibly drawn people are just so interesting. And I read someone say, oh, it's a cozy murder. I hate that term, primarily because, yes, there's those books that exist. They're like sweet, and this has very heartfelt moments in it. Don't get me wrong, it absolutely does. But first of all, it's quite an intricately plotted novel. There's just no one killer who you're trying to figure out. There are a lot of storylines happening, a lot of things going on, which completely surprised me because I didn't expect that at all. So it's not this kind of, I think because of its charm, which it has googobs of, I think it disarms people into thinking that it's a much lighter book than at times it is. And Richard Osman, on the audiobook, he talks in an interview afterwards, and he says, when he set out to write it, and he's describing these people that could be written as kind of wrinkly old people who are at the end of their lives and struggling to just hang in there. He doesn't. And what he said, and I love this so much, and certainly anyone who is aging or is over a certain age, I include myself in that group. I've said to somebody once, the thing about aging is you forget things, but everything that you still are, right? All your feelings, all your hopes, your aspirations, your dreams, all those kind of things, your insecurities, they're still there. It's just that the exterior begins to change. And certainly there are limitations that begin to happen, whether they're physical, whether they're health problems. All of those things can, slow a person, stop a person. But and he says that in this. He said, people look at old people and say like, oh, I feel sorry for them. But, old people, like anybody else, and again, I include myself in that upper tier now, they're all of those things are relevant and real. So in this book, there are moments when physical things are brought up, or just the sheer fact of death and things like dementia, which will bring me to my next book. All of those things are addressed at times, sometimes very poignantly, and they really resonated as I read it. I thought a lot with both of these books about my own mother, who during COVID was in a retirement community, and after the lockdown happened, began to get dementia, and then it very quickly accelerated. So all of these things, and maybe that for me was why some of this, for both of these books, held a particular resonance. But it's so good. And I do have to say, it's so charming, yes, and also so damn funny. And he says he did not set out to write a comedic novel, but ultimately what begins to happen is because these characters, as you get to know them, and I'll speak as a testament to the reading of this book, as you get to know these characters and these situations come up, you kind of can't wait to see how they're all going to deal with it, and how the four of them play off each other and work together. It's really, like I said, I can't speak highly of it enough, and I think it's exactly the kind of book that I needed, especially after getting through the 900 pages of John Irving, only just because of the sheer volume, and that's what I mean by that, not the content as much as just the size. I was really looking for something that was going to be a little more accessible quickly and fun, and I don't want to say breezy because I feel that diminishes the book, but I think you understand what I mean. So that's what I would say about that. Ian Reid's, interestingly, We Spread, is not funny at all. It is about a woman named Penny who lived for years with a man, had a partner who was an artist, and she, at the start of the book, the whole thing is written first person. I believe she's changing a light bulb and she falls, and hits her head on the counter, and when she comes to, her landlord is in the apartment with her, and he says to her, we were waiting for this, it's time. And effectively what it is he takes her to a very kind of a boutique retirement community. And when I say boutique, I mean like 6 patients total, 6 residents. And so what starts of her being confused as to why this is happening, and he explains to her, when your partner was alive, the both of you had set out to set this up and take care of this. So in the event something happened to you, it would all be taken care of. But what starts to happen is she arrives there, she meets the director, who is a woman who owns this facility, and says that it was very important for her because she feels that the elderly are so critical and should be taken care of in the best way possible in the final kind of chapter of their lives. But slowly, Penny begins to question, what is this place? What is she doing here? Because she feels fine soon after her head heals, where she hit it. And so as the reader, and as the character, we start to question whether or not she's losing her mind and what is actually happening and what is not. It very much is a descent into dementia, Alzheimer's, some form of memory disease. And it really begins to unfold like, frankly, a horror novel as she begins to think she's been trapped and she can't escape. It's a slim book. It's an extremely affecting book. By the time I reached the end, there were moments when I was like, she's absolutely losing her mind. And the next moment I'd be like, no, there's something really going on here. This all seems suspect. And Ian Reid, to his credit, doesn't make it 100% clear. So I think it's an interesting book for something like a book club because of the interpretation that can be drawn by the end of the book. But for 24 hours after I finished it, I kept processing it and thinking about it and thinking, God, this thing is so interesting, and what really happened, and kind of going back to it again and looking at parts of it to think like what this actually could be and what is she actually thinking. Because of the subject matter and because of I don't know that it might be for everybody, and some people could find it perhaps too relentlessly bleak. I didn't find that, but I do think it's almost like Stephen King does dementia. Probably not that extreme, but a little bit. All right, so a lot of stuff coming up the next week, including I'm going to do another book haul, a few more books that I wanted to talk to you all about. I'm going to be doing my wrap up for October, talking about my TBR for Nonfiction November. And then I'm also just going to probably try to focus in the next couple weeks to show some great nonfiction books for Nonfiction November that some that I've talked about before, but other things that perhaps people don't know about. I might do another quick run through just quickly of some biographies, more stuff that I've read. There's certainly plenty more that are coming out, as I said the other day, with Matthew Perry's biography, Paul Newman's biography just came out. There's a lot of interesting things coming. So I hope you'll come back. I thank you for being here today. I would check both of these books out, but and again, if I can get you on the audio train at all to try out the Richard Osman, I would strongly encourage it, and I'm getting no kickback from any group. So sad, but I'm getting no kickback. Okay, I hope you all have a fantastic day wherever you are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you soon.